Hello, my name is James Peck from PX Farms. We're based 4 miles outside Cambridge. PX Farms was established in 2003 and its founding principles are a service farming business to look after the people in which we farm for and our clients. At the beginning of our relationship on a new farm, we will soil map all of the fields and we will do 20 core samples per hectare, which will give us a template of exactly what nutrients are available in that soil at the beginning. And our guarantee is that those soils will never be depleted in the time in which we're farming them. They will only be improved year after year. PX Farms will come in and do the work from stubble to stubble. So we will cultivate, we will drill, we will spray and fertilise that crop right through to harvest, and then we will store it, and then we will work with the farmer to sell that crop at the best prices. I believe in the combinable crop model, but scale is something which is going to be the future. And to be able to do that, farming for other people, delivering back benefit to them which they wouldn't have been able to get themselves. We have found that with timeliness and efficiency, we need to use the best equipment which is on the market and keep that regularly replaced and maintained. We also, I feel, have some of the best employees that are out in the industry, so that we can deliver with confidence the results for the people we farm for. Farming for other people is a relationship, and you both have to respect each other and like each other. And as long as the relationship is transparent, it should work for a long term. To be able to improve the returns back to the people we farm for, we have embraced controlled traffic farming, which is something I did on my Nuffield scholarship tour around the world, where I came back and found that there's a potential to increase our yields by 18%. By placing our wheelings in the same place each time, year after year. To be able to also maximise on that, we have gone to 2 rubber track crawlers to do the main cultivations and drilling. We use a Bateman 36 metre sprayer. The wheels go out to fit in the same wheelings as the combines and the challengers. We're running on a 12 metre system where we have 2 12 metre combines and a 12 metre drill. And with that drill we are also putting phosphate and DAP, which is nitrogen and phosphate, down the spout, drilled just below the seed. We can minimise on the amount of phosphate that we're spreading on the top, but maximise on what the plant gets by putting phosphate in the right place for that seed that year. Part of my trip around the world on my Nuffield, I came across in Western Australia the technology where we effectively take the yield maps. By producing a graph, we can determine exactly what nutrients came off per hectare, and then we can then translate that, and the spreader will then put back exactly what was the offtake was that year. We've mapped every single field and we've set ourselves up on an 11.9 metre system, so we have a little bit of tolerance on the 12 metre. Every implement and every machine will drive every 12 metres, and doing that, those wheels are then placed exactly where we want them. And what we found this harvest was, with the first year, that we've got it all to work in sync. The second combine could come up the next land with only 2 centimetres of tolerance and it would combine perfectly. So we've now got every machine to work together. Chris has been with me now coming up to 9 years, from the early days when PX Farms was first started, and now has a very prominent role within the business.
To be in farming, you have to have a way of life. It is a way of life. And if you don't enjoy it, you couldn't do it. If you enjoy what you do, it doesn't matter how many hours you have to sit behind the machine for. Really, when it comes down to it, we've got the machinery, the tackle, we've got a good workforce who will do a good job, put in the hours, and we look to thrive to make a good job of people's farms.
One of the limiting factors that can often happen with farms is actually the grain storage and maintaining premium once you've taken it from the field and then selling it through the year. We are working very closely with a company called Wellgrain, that are based in Ely, as a grain merchant, who we put the grain in the stores and we sell through them. And then working so closely, they help find additional premium, also markets which we wouldn't have been able to achieve on our own. There's scale, there's 47,000 tonnes of grain storage currently. We have different segments of stores which we're able to put different premium wheats in, so that if, for example, due to the season, for some of the fields have better quality wheat, we can segregate that, which then brings in a premium to that landowner. One of the most important things when storing grain is actually the temperature monitoring. If you don't do that right, then suddenly you're going to have an infestation, especially the depth of grain in which we store at. So one of the things we worked hard on was actually to put a temperature monitoring system in which was fully automated. So it runs itself 24 hours a day, 365 days of the year. And you can see that where the circles are illustrates where there is a probe. And then if you click on each area, you can see what the temperatures are inside the store in the grain. And then depending on what the outside ambient temperature and the RH is, the store will actually turn itself on automatically. We were concerned at the amount of weight loss we were suffering when drying grain, because if you have a 16.5% load of wheat going in and you start drying it, then you have an 18.5 suddenly turn up in a lorry. You've got to change the dryer to 18.5, which then means that the corn that was at 16.5 gets dried down to 13. So we built a program. Part of my Nuffield scholarship working with ZTech is found some probes which are used in the cement industry, microwave probes, and then this control program, which is working off the internet as well, controls those probes and then speeds and slows up the dryer depending upon what the moisture is, so that you get exactly an even moisture come out the dryer at 15%. And that is going to save us about £40,000 a year. The energy is produced from the solar panels. We put up the first commercial trackers in the country. It's a 50 kilowatt system, and effectively they follow the sun rather like sunflowers. So we're maximising on the sun rays throughout the day, and then that energy is being used to power the cooling fans or running the grain dryer and the elevators and conveyors. And our thought was that we're effectively trying to make the storage carbon neutral. One of the most important things that we found when developing this business was actually the traceability side. And that is why with the grain store model we have full weighbridge tickets and a spreadsheet to show what the total weight in and the total dried and what is left to sell. It was important to us from the point of recommendations for the crops to ordering, to delivery, to applying, to work plans, that was all fully recorded and there was full traceability. And that anything that wasn't used was sent back, so we had no wastage, and that everybody in which we farm for has full traceability of exactly down to the penny what was put on their land. Part of the service that PX Farms applies is that we will do the VAT for people on a monthly basis. We help them do their entry-level stewardship scheme, their single farm payment forms, their cross-compliance, their farm assurance, and we do that with them on a monthly basis or quarterly, so that they have full confidence that they have a full farming package. Alis has been with us over 5 years, and as the business grew, the role developed for somebody to run the office.
He comes up with brilliant ideas and has really got that driving force moving forward, and I'm the person standing behind him saying, well, we just need to think about how that's actually going to work and how that's going to fit in from the kind of ground level up. The things that can be forgotten but have a knock-on effect, like your hedges, like your pest control, looking at the rabbit situation, which it seems to be a small thing, but actually when you look at the devastation on a crop, you're running your combine and you're going to end up ploughing up ground because there's holes and ruts and everything. So you start from that end, and then you come in from the other end where James is very technology minded, is always looking at what the new thing is, whether it can bring a benefit. At PX, everybody's very aware of what everybody else does, and therefore there is a benefit of being able to channel people's inquiries to the correct place.
We currently have 9 Arctic lorries running, and 8 of those are in contract with Wellgrain, collecting grain and delivering to local mills within a 100-kilometre radius. It's important to me that we have individuals which effectively are managing themselves. Their lorry is their office and their tool to be able to do their work, and the standard of the upkeep of how that lorry looks is important not only to the image of PX Farms but also for the people we are collecting from. I treat them as if they're a fridge. But you wouldn't want to eat from a dirty fridge, so why would you want to eat from a dirty lorry? And that mentality is then spread across all the farm equipment as well.
We don't have dirty vehicles. We pride ourselves on immaculate looking vehicles.
The 8 lorries which are currently working in contract for Wellgrain have a navman fitted to them, which is the large screen just behind me. So that Alis, who works in the office, is able to actually see where all the lorries are on a day-to-day basis. They have the ability to send them the next jobs and the messages. They also have a similar screen in the Wellgrain office, and they're doing majority of the communication with the drivers. We've also now started to fit these systems to our farm machinery and our digger. The screen shows here that our JCB digger, we can actually see where it is working, how long it's been working for, and what its service intervals are for when it needs a service. They also are looking at this at the main dealers so that they then can program when they're going to come out to service our vehicles. I can sit in the office and I can look even from my iPhone to see what all of my vehicles are doing. We've adopted the entry-level stewardship schemes on all of the farms, and even have a high-level stewardship scheme on one farm, which was the first in Cambridgeshire to get signed up. We've got a commitment back to the environment where we've been planting about 1,800 metres a year of hedging, and this is an example of what was planted this winter. And we've got a 15-year plan where we want to plant all of the exterior boundaries up along the roads, along neighbours' properties, and then we will then concentrate on filling the gaps in the centre of the farm, in between the fields. To be able to improve the organic matter and the nutrients in the soil, we are baling the straw, which is then going to the power station, and they are then returning chicken manure to us, which we're then able to spread on the land, which gives us nitrogen, phosphate and potash, but also improving the organic matter. In 2003, when I started PX Farms, there was 1 employee. Now there are 24, but the entire site actually has over 200 people living and working on it, whereas in 1907 there was 60 people. So we have actually improved the number of people and the estate, which is a difference from what the model is showing, that employees are going down in the population related to farming. Within our local community, we try to accommodate people as much as we can. So we've put in quite a lot of permissive paths. We've got 5 in total, and also a permissive path for a bridleway. So we've been linking up places of access for the public to enjoy the countryside on our farms, so that we've been giving them access from a road or from the back of a village, which then links in to a traditional public footpath. And the same with the horses. With the amount of road infrastructure that's gone in over the last sort of 20 years, often footpaths and bridleways have been cut off. We cut the verges and cut the hedges along the roads and dig the ditches out, as well as cutting the grass in the churchyard. One of the great advantages of the contract farming model is that it enables people to have confidence their costs are controlled. It's a fixed price to do all of the work. For example, we have to cultivate the field 3 times. That landowner doesn't pay any more money for that practice to happen. Our future expansion plans is that we're finding that with scale, there are additional benefits which come with that, which we're then able to pass down to the people in which we farm for. And we do not see currently distance as limitation. PX Farms is always striving to better itself year after year, and we actually benchmark ourselves against others, but also against ourselves. So we have 9-year running averages where we've been looking at our returns on growing crop of wheat or crop of rape, and we also look at our yields over 9 years and our average of yield, which is important, so that we can then make sound decisions on how to improve that. One of the core principles of PX Farms is that we strive to do a better job every time. That is why we feel we are a perfect partner in being able to farm for other people. I have a personal motivation to be the best at what we do and to be transparent.